if you would. Her father has asked me to encourage questions. This helps her get ready for her competition this summer. So any questions on her platforms or on current events is more than welcome.
Yeah, so go ahead and start thinking about the hardest questions you can come up with, and I'll see if I can answer them. It'll be a good mock interview for me. But hi, I'm Kassidy. I am so excited to be with you today. I guess I can go a little more in depth about everything. So if any of you watched the news yesterday, you saw, as I did for the first time, that there are changes in the Miss America organization, and I would love to talk about those today too, because I have a TV interview this afternoon that I need to get prepared for also with that. But I grew up in Lufkin. I graduated in 2015 from Lufkin High School, where I served as the captain of the Panther Pride drill team, which until I went to college I thought was the biggest and greatest thing that I would ever do. I was also Miss Texas Outstanding Teen that year, which is the little sister program to the Miss America organization. So I was able to compete in every phase of competition that I do now besides swimsuit, and not only get scholarships to go to the University of Alabama, but also, as we said, I spoke about the prevention of underage drinking. So at 16 years old, I started working with Mothers Against Drunk Driving and became a national teen ambassador for them for 2 years. And then last year, I started working with Shattered Dreams. If any of you know that program, it's an organization that is ran out of San Antonio, Texas. It's a one-man show. And they put a car crash at a high school for the day. And students die every 7 minutes in a classroom. So a Grim Reaper type costume will come in and take students out of class to show students not only what drinking and driving does to this country and to our youth, but also what distracted driving does. Well, this year, I'm 21 now, and I started my platform Purposeful Perspective, which is all about understanding the influence that we have each day. It affects other people, whether we realize it or not. Every single decision that we make has a consequence. It's either a good or a bad one. And it all stems from when I was little, that person who was supposed to be my role model for me couldn't be because of bad decision making. So at that point, I looked to my friends. Well, my friends started drinking heavily in the 8th grade. Very, very heavily. So I can remember being at a friend's house, thought it was a regular, Friday or Saturday night, whatever it was. Just thought we were hanging out. And that's the first time that I was introduced to alcohol. I did not live close to this friend, but I got up and I walked home because I was embarrassed to tell my parents what my friends were doing. I want to be that voice for students, if they need someone to call, if they need someone to talk to, if they need to understand that sometimes making these harder choices are the lonelier choices, that's what I'm here for. So as Miss Frisco, that's what I've been able to do for the last year, getting ready for Miss Texas, is to speak. Just a few weeks ago, we were out at Big Sandy, and I was able to talk to all of their youth, all of their middle school and their elementary school, which was really great. But hopefully, with Miss Texas, I'm able to take this platform statewide. Just today, later today, besides that TV interview, we'll also be going to the Crisis Center of East Texas, where when I go and speak, I usually ask people to bring clothing. So I ask them to clean out their closets before I come, and those students will bring clothes for me that I can then donate to women's shelters across Texas, so that they understand that those little actions that they are making affect other people. Back to the Miss America organization, I'm sure some of you are wondering what I did to get all of this garb that I have on today and what I do at the state pageant. So the state pageant is in about 3 weeks. I first compete in an interview. So it's a 10-minute interview, and they can ask me anything that they want to. Current event, platform-based with purposeful perspective, or just about myself, and get my opinions on anything going on in our world today. After that, with Miss Texas, the swimsuit change has not happened yet. That will happen September 9th at Miss America, so I will still compete in lifestyle and fitness and swimsuit at Miss Texas in 3 weeks. I also compete in talent, where obviously I am a dancer, as you just heard my accomplishments. And then we do evening gown and onstage question, which if anything, onstage question is definitely the hardest part of the competition, no doubt. It is very, very nerve-wracking to know that if you say something silly on stage, it can be on the internet forever now. Yeah. But last year was my first year competing in the Miss program of Miss Texas, and I walked away with second runner-up and over $6,000 to the University of Alabama this past year. So the Miss America is much more than, I'm sure that you've heard in the past few days, much more than just a beauty contest, and that's what we're getting away from. It's the largest scholarship provider to young women in America, and that is something to be celebrated. You know, it's not about girls on stage in swimsuits, and it's not about girls on stage in evening gowns. It's not about crowns, and it's not about banners. It's about that we get to go to school and we get to be educated and awarded for our accomplishments and for working hard, and I think that is what the Miss America organization is trying to go towards. Like I said, with the women's shelter, later today we're donating over 1,000 items of clothing. So that, you know, I'm just one piece of the puzzle out of the 52 girls that compete in Miss Texas in 3 weeks, and then from there's 52 that compete at Miss America. So each of these girls has different things that they feel drawn towards and that they want to talk about and to share their convictions about. I'm just a piece of that, and the women's shelter is just a piece of that. But my message to y'all today is just to understand that you always impact someone else. You know, my goal is to impact those little girls that I teach at the dance studio, and those people that I get to speak to as Miss Frisco and hopefully as Miss Texas. But that you guys affect everyone that you encounter each and every day also. So, any questions, please feel free to give me your hardest current events or just about me, anything that you want to know.
Cassidy, how does this Miss Texas work? Like, you're representing Miss Frisco. Well,
Yes.
there's not a Miss Polk County, there's not a Miss San Jacinto County, there's just kind of some cities,
Yes.
some counties. How does that kind of
Sure.
happen?
Yeah, so we have local directors within the Miss Texas and the Miss America organization. So to be able to go to Miss Texas, you first have to win a preliminary competition, so such as Miss Frisco. But these local franchises are bought out. So we don't have one in this area, hence why I'm Miss Frisco, because the franchise has not been bought yet. My parents would like to buy it someday when I'm finished competing, but they cannot do that right now as I'm still competing. But I would, you know, if I were able to represent Lufkin, I would love to do that because that's where I was born and raised.
But you said it was like a what happened?
The franchise fee, they just stopped paying the fee, so it was lost. We just don't have it anymore. Yes.
What led you to go to the Crimson Tide?
Scholarships.
Of money.
Yeah. I learned very quickly out of high school that you go where the money is. And so I'm a dance major. And in Texas, that is not easy to find. Actually, almost every school that offers a dance major is a private private college. So that would be even more than out-of-state tuition for me. So I am finishing up there. I have 1 semester left at Alabama. And then hopefully I will be back home in Texas after that.
With the changes that have just been announced, part of your interview today will involve a question like this, so let me put you on the spot for a moment. Gun shows feature guns, horse shows feature horses, boat shows feature boats. Since the Miss America folks, and I was part of them 60 years ago, glad I'm out. Anyway, good luck. But anyhow, since this no longer falls under a category of a beauty contest or a beauty show or a beauty pageant, in your mind, what category should it fall in? What should be a new category name for the pageants that Miss America sponsors?
Thank you for that question. I'm not sure if there is one right now that it could even fall under. So they changed it yesterday. If anyone who's not knowing, they changed Miss America pageant to Miss America competition. So women no longer will be judged in swimsuit. We will not have evening gown, and you cannot be judged on your looks at all, taking away any portion of the beauty contest that goes into it. So these girls are truly just celebrated on their academic requirements, your interview, You have now an interview, private interview, an interactive interview, onstage question, and talent. So, with that being said, I think that this is moving more towards just a women empowerment. You know, this organization, over the past year, we've had a lot of controversy with Sam Haskell and everything else that has gone on in this organization. Miss America is truly now an organization that is completely ran by women. So, to say that we're empowering women is one thing. To actually do things to empower women, to take away these hypersexualized content, that's actually empowering women at this point. And I see it for the change of the good. I think that it's good to move into the modern age, and hopefully the Miss America organization can continue to grow through this. But there's a lot that's going to change. If you've been involved, you know that, you know, each point of my crown, it stands for something else. So we have style, service, scholarship, and success. And one of those prongs is being taken away. We don't have the style portion anymore because it doesn't matter what you look like or how you present yourself. And so I'm interested to see where the organization goes within the next 5 years. Yes.
Do you think it's a realistic possibility that, say yourself is competing against a young lady that's 50 pounds heavier and no makeup and her hair's a mess? Do you think that that's a realistic judging?
So for me, what I always think about is this crown whenever I go somewhere is my voice. This is what makes people look at me, and this is what attracts people. You know, they want to hear what I have to say because of this crown on my head. So I hope that that is the true influencer going into this. I do agree though, that when you walk into somewhere and you're put together, you have a much different, people portray you differently than when you walk in somewhere and you are not put together. Miss America, I do not think has to be the smartest person in the room. I think she has to be the best communicator. And that goes towards putting yourself together and looking ready for the job that you are given.
But do you think the judge's mindset will not still be towards the pageant side of it?
In the first few years, I think it will be. Like I just said, this change doesn't actually happen until September 9th at Miss America. So we have every 52 state pageants before this ever happens with the same criteria, competing in swimsuit, competing in these beauty type where I can still get judged on my looks at Miss Texas. So this first year Miss America, it will be a different transition because the girls will look as we normally see them at Miss America. The transition will be the few years after this and what really comes forward. But I think the type of girls that will win will be different. You know, when you don't have a swimsuit competition, when that's not part of your point system, it does change the type of girls who will be there, absolutely. Yes?
Kassidy, I'm gonna shift gears on you for a moment, to throw you off, I guess. Today, a big topic is border security and the border wall.
Mhm.
And having grown up in Texas, as most of us here have, it's something we see every day.
Mhm.
Immigrants that have moved here, some of them,
Yeah.
can be close friends. I'd just like your perspective on what you think about the border security and the border wall along Texas.
Sure. If I can go this way, I'd like to talk about the dreamers in our country, if I can go there. So we have this problem right now with the dreamers who were brought here illegally by their parents for the most part, but they did not knowingly break the law. So for me personally, as a millennial, as a 21-year-old girl who was born and raised in the state of Texas, I would like to see a feasible pathway to citizenship. Not just kicking people out and not just letting people come in like crazy either. And I don't think the answer is building a wall. I'm sorry. I think that a feasible pathway to citizenship is the best way. We have to keep this as an option and not block people out, but also not let things just swim in constantly. The feasible pathway is the best way to go about that. Yes?
Another topic you brought up, the underage drinking.
Yes.
This is personal for you. Now that you've reached the legal drinking age, are you still maintaining abstinence?
No, I have drank alcohol. I did. The first drink I ever had was on my 21st birthday, though, so I did abstain from all alcohol until I was 21. Now my mission is more responsible drinking, never going too far, and understanding that it's all about the situation that you're in. with the students that I talked at Big Sandy, those 8th graders, we did talk a lot about the prevention of underage drinking, because what most people don't understand, and what the biggest problem for me was in high school, was that it was the parents giving it to their children. And they don't understand that it's their brain that's being hurt. You know, they think, my kid can drive, he can serve in the military if he wants, why can't he drink? That frontal lobe is not finished developing until we're 21 years old, and that's why the drinking age is that. Yes.
What is your opinion on global warming?
Oh.
We're gonna go way out
I
there.
like it. Well, I took a weather class actually at Alabama this past semester, and I gotta tell you, it was the hardest class I have taken. I was completely lost the entire time, trying to keep up with this lecture. And this man is just incredibly intelligent. I'm trying to keep up with it. But from what I have learned, our climate is shifting, and it has been shifting. And if you look at records, it is much hotter now than it was 50 years ago. So I actually do believe in global warming. I think it's happening. We have a hole in the ozone, and we need to take care of our planet. That's a big thing. That's why I do these clothing drives, you know. Reduce, reuse, and recycle as much as possible. Any others?
Cassidy, at the Miss Texas pageant,
Yes.
what percentage goes toward
Yeah.
your background mentally, your physical, and your talent? Is it all equal, or?
No, it is not all equal. Hopefully I can keep up with all this. So I do know that swimsuit at Miss Texas is only 10%. So that is the part that is the lowest. It's the lowest percentile. Interview is 35%. Correct, Dad? 30%. Evening gown is 15%, and talent, okay. I don't know if that all adds up, but an onstage question is also part of that. So when you put it all together, we compete during the week, and then whoever makes it into the top 15 recompetes in every phase of competition except for the private interview. But if you make it in top 5, you do an extra onstage question. So overall, the highest percent goes to onstage question, because if you make it into the top 5, you not only do 1, but you do 3.
So you're saying that when you get to the top 5, they don't just throw everything off
No,
and start all over?
they start all of the judging over at the top 15. So we compete all week, and then on finals night, they immediately narrow it down to 15 girls, and then you can recompete in every phase. And all the scores from the entire week are thrown out at that point. The only scores that last are the new ones. Well, out of those new scores, there are 5 girls that are chosen to be in the top 5. And then you answer one more onstage question, which is very, very, very political normally. It's all about current events at that point, and that is who goes into being the new Miss Texas or Miss America. Yeah.
Just throw your curveball. What do you think about Roseanne?
Oh, I like it. Okay, so I don't think racism should be tolerated, especially on a national level like that, where she is such a big influencer. So I celebrate Fox, or was it Fox? Yeah. ABC. Fox is thinking about picking it up. That's what I heard. I celebrate them for dropping the program, because I do think that was the right way to go. And it shows that it doesn't matter who you are or what title you have in this world, there are still consequences for your actions. Yes.
In light of the recent school shootings, what's your stand on gun control, being a Texas girl?
Yeah.
Tell us how you think.
All right, well, this is a big one, and it always is at Miss Texas. I do not think school shootings I don't think it goes back to gun control. I think it goes back to mental health personally. These students are in a really hard situation. For me, I did not have any social media until I was a senior in high school. So I wasn't 12 years old and looking on Instagram and looking on Facebook and looking on Twitter, and one, being bullied through those means, but in another sense, I wasn't looking at people and always feeling less than. Now, it happens. You know, you look and you see this girl who's beautiful and pretty and skinnier than you, and you think, wow, you know, like, she has it all going on, and just look at me over here. Happens to students every single day. The other problem is our schools are they're not protecting our students like they should be. I'll give you an example. Lufkin High School, if I wanted to walk into the back door today, I could. I know how to get into that school without any means of going through any type of security. The back doors are not locked. I personally believe that going into a high school, a middle school, an elementary school, it should be like going into an airport, because parents shouldn't have to worry about their students' safety when they go to school.
Well said.
Thank you. Yes.
Let's say 5 years from now,
Mhm.
when your college days and your beauty pageant days are behind you, how do you envision yourself contributing to society?
Yes, well, I've been thinking about that a lot recently. I told you that I have purposeful perspective, but my community outreach program is called Love Made Visible. So it's understanding, helping those who need help, these clothing drives that I do, serving where you can serve. So I hope that if I am Miss America, I truly see myself opening a nonprofit someday. But as Miss Texas, just as Kassidy right now, I would love to own a dance studio and influence those girls. If I can impact one kid's life and help them from not drinking underage and making good choices and understanding that they can be a great role model too, then I think I've done my job. Yes.
Would you like to be a lion?
Well, maybe someday. My dad was in Lufkin, and I've spoken to quite a few Lions clubs, but this has been very, very enjoyable today. Y'all have asked me some hard questions. I've liked it. Yes.
Why will you limit your dance studio only to girls?
Oh, that's a good, I say girls just because in Lufkin, Texas, we only had one boy who danced with us. It kind of depends on where I go, but I would actually love to broaden it to where it's not just children teaching dance, but you have adult classes too. I think it's a great way of physical fitness and, keeping that heart rate pumping, getting that good cardio in every day too. Yes.
So you basically said that looks aren't going to be involved
Yeah.
in this Miss America competition anymore. Do you think that a girl with the crown on her head that's not attractive is going to have the same kind of appeal to the public as you? As you would?
Yeah. I think she has a different type of appeal, and I think that's what the Miss America organization is going towards, that all of a sudden, I can tell you firsthand, normally when I walk into a place, I am judged immediately on how I look, and they usually assume that I don't have the smarts to back it up, that I don't have the brain to back it up. And I'm excited to see that these women will be celebrated, not just by how they looked, but for what they stand for and the impact that they're making on their society. Like I said, I think whenever you walk in somewhere with a crown on your head, you automatically get that attention. And I hope to see that will still continue. But the face of Miss America is definitely changing. And we will either see that it goes well in the next 5 years, or things will go back to how they were. Yes.
Where do you plan on living, when you finish? Do you want to be back in Texas, or?
That is, yeah.
And why?
I do. I have a boyfriend. He lives in Orlando, Florida. Yes, he goes to the University of Florida. So I guess a little bit more background about myself is that earlier this year I auditioned for Disney and was cast as Princess Belle at Disney in Orlando. But I had to defer for the year because of Miss Texas. If I do become Miss Texas, I give up my next year of life. I give up everything and I serve my state for the next year. So I could not accept the job at the parks, but I do know that that's open to me now and that I could potentially go down that route. For me, as a dancer, it is going anywhere that I can get a job. So it probably won't be back here to East Texas. If I do move back to Texas, it'll probably be Dallas so that I can start dancing for a company there.
Or if your dad gets a dance studio going.
Oh goodness. I don't know if he's up for that one. Yes.
Cardio going.
Well, you remember the lady from England, Susan Boyle?
Yes.
Who made her debut
Yes.
with her brilliant singing voice?
Yes.
Then they did makeovers, and now she's more presentable, but people recognize her for her ability as a superstar, right?
Yes.
So that, you think that's gonna happen in the pageant process?
I do. I think that the organization as a whole will move away from, like I said earlier, this hyper-sexualized vision of what Miss America is supposed to be, and that it'll move more towards women who are celebrated on their talents, because that's still a huge part of the competition, but just for what they stand for. You know, that everything that I've said to y'all today is recognized before what I look like is. Yes.
Do you feel like you'll be a disadvantage in the future because you are beautiful?
We've talked about this, and I do think that it could, the girls who already compete in the organization are a little, it's hard to go about it, you know, because for me personally, I've grown up in this organization. I did the Princess program when I was 12 years old. I started competing in the teen program when I was 16, and then I'm competing in the Miss program now. So to all of a sudden be the one discriminated against in all purposes is a different way of going about it. But I think that in this day and age, they're moving more towards someone who can empower and, you know, improve our society. And I think that if that's how it has to change, then that's okay. You know, for me personally, I do not compete in this system because I need to be gratified on how I look, or that I need to win fitness every time I walk on stage. I compete because I want people to hear what I have to say, and the Crown gives me a really, really great platform to do that.
Good answer.
Yes.
There was a young lady last night on American's Got Talent.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't beautiful, and she even made a comment, but when she opened her voice, it was just amazing. And Simon, I couldn't believe what he told her.
Big lady.
Amazing, he told her her talent was unbelievable.
Yeah. I didn't watch it last night. We watched it the week before that, but I'll have to go back and watch now because I love these talent shows. For me personally, as a dancer, before I ever started competing in pageants, the way I looked, the way my body was important because that's my career. It's not about Miss Texas. It's not about Miss America. It's about that I am a dancer and I hope to be a professional dancer, and people have to lift you and pick you up on stage, and you don't want to hurt their backs either, you know? So I, as a professional dancer, I think about that before I think about competing in swimsuit. But, you know, like I've said, the organization as a whole is much more concerned about what the women have to say than what they look like. And the transition in the next few years will be really, really interesting. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah.
So how do you feel like they're gonna be able to pick judges that can put the looks aside and just focus on? You know,
well, inherently, inherently we.
He said blind, but I'm serious. I mean,
I know.
Even if you're not a judgmental person, you definitely notice beauty over somebody off the street.
So most of you know, all of this that we're talking about was released yesterday morning at 7:30 a.m. and I knew nothing about it until I woke up and watched Good Morning America either. So most of my day yesterday was spent talking with my parents over how to handle this and how to go about it. We inherently judge people every time we meet them on how they look. That's why we worry about what our hair looks like, what we're wearing, why we spend so much money on makeup, you know, anything like that. That's what we do, because we not only want to look good for ourselves, but we want other people to think we look good too. I think that I can personally see the interview phase of competition or any phase of speaking with them blindfolding the judges. I don't know if that's going to happen. Don't take my word for it. I can see it going towards that way. The biggest thing that I could say is the celebrity judges at Miss America need to go. I do not think that is just because you have a name in country music or you are somebody, that does not mean that you are now qualified to judge this social competition that we're having, that's Miss America.
We should be ready.
I think that it should be qualified judges. So at Miss Texas, we have people who not only have worked with other organizations within pageantry or competitions now, as we're going to call them, but we also have novice judges. who know nothing about pageants, who know nothing about anything that's going on. So you have a good mix of people. Yes.
But I think it's gonna give a lot of young ladies the opportunity to compete in things that wouldn't do it before.
Yes, I agree. So for me, when I was started competing in teen, we do physical fitness. So you wear leggings and a tank top and you go on stage and you do some jumping jacks. That's a lot less intimidating than getting on stage in a bikini and heels and prancing around. And that's what dissuaded me from competing in this for so many years, because it is very, very intimidating. I do think that it's going to open the doors a lot to the type of girls who we're attracting, and girls, like I said, you know, who don't just want to be gratified for their looks, but they want to be told, wow, look what you're doing in your community, and you're doing all this for us, thank you. Yes?
Do you think you would be able to be joyful if you went to the Mrs. Texas pageant, or made Mrs. Texas and went to Miss America pageant, and you competed, and you knocked it out of the park, and 3 women who don't put as much time and concern into their looks beat you, and you're standing on stage, someone who's obviously spent a lot of time physically preparing yourself from the way you look to the way you train. Do you think you could really be joyous knowing that these women, obviously in an area of their life, have not put forth as much effort as you have, yet they beat you in this pageant?
Yeah, that's a really, really valid question. At Miss Texas this year, we won't have to worry about that because we still have the swimsuit phase. But at Miss America, even before this, it was the biggest, like, who knows? We don't know what they're looking for. We have no idea. And like I just said, half the week you have this panel who's judging you. Then you have celebrity judges all of a sudden. So it is literally the biggest, like, throw your money in the bucket and hope you win. You know, like, you don't know what's going to happen. And the truth is, the thing that I've heard and that I live by is that if it's supposed to be your time, the Lord will make it your time. I could fall flat on stage. I can totally rip my gown on stage. My hair can look like a mess. But if they love me, they love me. And that means that I was just supposed to win at that time.
Very good.